Timothée Chalamet, Armi Hammera, welcome to the program.
Hey.
This film has really struck a chord. I mean, everybody who's seen it is knocked out by it. But it's a kind of an independent little movie, right? Were you surprised by the reaction and how it's been, received?
Well, I definitely didn't go into the movie thinking that it would be sort of ubiquitously accepted and celebrated like this. I mean, it's a beautiful script, but it's also it's very much an indie movie. We shot it for almost nothing in a little tiny town in the countryside of Italy that was gorgeous, but it just felt more like a passion project and a labor of love. It wasn't anything that anyone was expecting to blow up, and now that it's been so, wonderfully received, especially considering how much of our, blood, sweat, and tears we put into it, it feels really nice.
Timothée, what about you? Well, how do you account for how it's resonated?
I guess there's no formula to people ever to knowing why people like things, but similar to what Armi just said, even in my short experience so far, I've been a part of a lot of indies that just don't get seen or don't get the distribution for the possibility to be seen. So I don't know what it is with this. It can't be discounted that there really was like a fan base for the book already, Andre Osman's novel that came out in 2007. So that was part of it, and also I think it's just the right time for a uncynical, unabashed, pure celebration of love and all the sorrow that comes with it, but a lack of gross, dark subject matter for the sake of being cynical.
That is a really good way to put it, because I think everybody has relished exactly what you've just said, the lack of cynicism and the pure beauty, not just visually, but also in terms of the characters. So the characters, you were a 17-year-old, you were a 20-year-old graduate student and working for your father during the summer. How did it come about? I mean, you are two straight guys playing gay guys how did that happen? Was it the director? Did he throw you in at the deep end? How did you create that chemistry?
Well, I mean, they say experience is the greatest teacher, and it was just about spending as much time with each other as possible in such a way. If we had 4 days with each other before we started filming, I know sometimes my instinct with other actors and these intimate scenarios and stories is to try to get as much information as possible about them in a kind of artificial way. But when you have that gift of 3-4 weeks like we did, it's not even about that. It was just, we just spent a lot of time with one another. And then there's also, and I'm sure Armi would have a lot to say about this as well, but I just feel like it's like the random luck of the universe that we hit it off as human beings, and that you can't really, it's not about that first impression or randomness, but rather we just hit it off. We had some sort of synchronization.
Just genuinely liked each other too. Our relationship really kind of grew really analogously to how the film worked. I showed up and he had been in the small town of Crema where we shot it for weeks at that point, familiarizing himself with the place, So I showed up and we got on bicycles and we rode around, and he said, that's a great place to get coffee. That's where you want to go get gelato. That's where they have great pizza there. And we just spent a lot of time together.
And the film was all about you guys on bicycles as well.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's an easy way to get around a small Italian town.
Exactly. But what did the director Luca? What did he do to make you comfortable with these scenes?
He didn't treat anything preciously. It wasn't like, on days where we were riding bikes, he would come up to us and go, okay, don't forget, tomorrow we have to do a scene with nudity, and you guys are going to have a love scene, so don't forget. Every scene was dealt with in sort of this wonderfully sort of like languorous, beautiful Mediterranean style, where it was just a relaxed enjoyment of everything. Whether it was a scene where we were picking fruit off of a tree, that became the most enjoyable thing we could do. Or if it was a scene where we were going to be laying in bed, then that was the most enjoyable thing. Every single scene was celebrated in a way where, the same way that love is celebrated, and the fact that love is celebrated. Every scene felt like that. So he just made us comfortable.
Is it a gay movie? Is it about, your characters, we think that you're gay, but towards the end of the film, I don't want to make a spoiler alert, everybody's seen it, and you call up and say that, in fact, you're engaged to be married to a woman you've been on and off dating, and we're not sure whether your character is gay. You have relations with girls in the movie. How would you describe the film?
I think it's to each his own, and I think that goes for Elio and Oliver, but more importantly, I think it goes for the audience member. And I think it'd be fair for anybody to watch this movie and say it's a gay movie or a bisexual movie or a coming-of-age story or a coming-out story or a northern countryside in Italy summer movie, or a first romance. I don't know, I'm always careful with this movie, with any project I'm a part of. The art, for me, takes place in the head of the viewer, not on screen, so to each his own.
One of the most arresting, dramatic speeches was your father. When Oliver leaves for the summer and you're left alone and you're very sad. I mean, your father's speech brings real tears to the eyes.
Absolutely, yeah. In the speech, he's saying, you know, essentially live and let live, and accept the pain in your life and the sorrow, and that if you're feeling badly when you're grieving, whether that's for the loss of a romance or another human being, you're doing it perfectly. Pain is enough. You don't have to beat yourself up because of pain. That's a whole other layer that you don't need. That's how I always understood it.
I mean, it is. It's incredibly timely. It is all about tolerance as well. And how do you think that, I mean, do you think this moment is a moment that needs to hear that message of pure tolerance?
I think that is a message that is always timely. I think that's something that people can always stand to hear more of. I think that there's always a place for movies that are about love, which is love is love is love is love, and it should be celebrated in any form it kind of takes, especially if it's genuine and from the heart and beautiful. And to go back to Michael's speech, it's kind of that thing of, you know, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to remind people of.
And I wonder whether you as guys also twig that he is basically telling you as a young man that it's okay to have feelings, that it's okay to be emotional, because so many young boys are told, you know, be brave, stiff upper lip,
Don't cry.
don't cry,
You know,
yeah.
Man, I love that you say that, and that's been one of my favorite things to hear in response to the movie, particularly about a young male character that is experiencing the spectrum of emotions like any human being, because I think it's a particularly like recent phenomenon, but like very American as well, that, like you said, it's supposed to be stiff upper lip, or moodiness, or like Brando, or like alcoholism, or whatever, you know, and that it's fine to just be. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, one should embrace that.
I want to get to the Me Too movement, because obviously, you know, Hollywood is the sort of crucible of what's going on in terms of women's rights and women's pushback against sexual abuse, harassment, and quid pro quo in your business. How has that affected both of you? And do you also believe that it is you guys who have to help us women?
I think absolutely, and the importance of doing this interview with you as opposed to another journalist is not lost upon me. I went to the Golden Globes with my sister, and it was really great, like, as it relates to the second part of your question, as far as what's the guy's role in this? Beyond the importance of the movement independently, how does the guy fit in? And it was like an education, talking to her, and where she said, you know, you're part of this new wave. You're a new you're a millennial. You're the new generation. You have to be talking about this. And I guess I always thought, I always think I'm unknown anyway, but I guess I always thought, as a consequence of my age or lack of clout or something, that it's not one's responsibility. But I guess that's where the problem lies. You know, it's everyone's responsibility.
And you're a slightly older generation. You've probably seen this overt misogyny in Hollywood.
Sure.
What do you think? I mean, you know, there's this feminist writer, Lindy West, who just said, you know, it is men who created sexism and misogyny, and they have to help us fix it. You know, it'll be useful if one day Robert Downey Jr. wakes up and demands equal pay for his co-star, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of that aspect of it?
I think that there is, I don't disagree, I think that there is a system in place that has a very wonky set of rules, and it seems kind of one-sided, but like any system, it's not one element at fault. It's normally like a confluence of things. I think that, you know, part and parcel with sexism, there's almost like a powerism that's in play as well, you know, where it's just been ubiquitously accepted for too long that those with power are allowed to abuse it. And because of sort of, you know, the male-dominated nature of a lot of systems in the world, it's the men who have the power who are able to abuse it. I do think that there is a big role to play, you know. I think that there is, you know, Kurt Vonnegut said it well when he said artists are kind of like the canaries in the coal mine, because we're sensitive, you know, we're really attuned to what's going on, and it'll kill us first because we are so sensitive. And the fact that this movement has sort of found its genesis in the entertainment industry shows you that, you know, this is something that is now starting to kill canaries, and it should be something that expands past that. So there is a role to play. There is something to do, and you want to be allied with the side of doing something as opposed to being a part of the problem.
Do you have any qualms, Timothée, about working with Woody Allen? I mean, your next film has him as the director, and as you know, he's been accused by his daughter of sexual abuse. He's never been charged, he hasn't been arrested, none of that. But I wonder whether you think about it and whether you ask, how has he escaped the Me Too revolution?
It's going to be really important for me to talk about that and to really, I hesitate to talk about it right now because what I say it's only going to anger people. So when that film comes out, if it comes out, it's going to be really important to talk about, but that's not the time right now.
And what's next on the horizon for you?
I will be making a Broadway debut this next summer here, so I'll be here for the summer. Yeah, just trying to enjoy right now this process, this kind of crazy wave of Call Me by Your Name love that the film is getting. Trying to enjoy as much time with my family.
Armi Hammera, Timothée Chalamet, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very nice to talk to you.